us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we grant to this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Please honor our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor Murphy.
Here.
Councilor Nguyen. Councilor Elliott. Councilor Kennedy.
Here.
Councilor Leahy. Councilor Laurie.
Here.
Councilor Martin.
Here.
Councilor Mendonça.
Here.
Councilor Mercia.
Here.
6 present.
Thank you. We have a special meeting. Notice is hereby given as required by Rule 6 of the City of Lowell City Council rules that the Lowell City Council will hold a special meeting of the Lowell City Council in the council chambers on Tuesday, May 28th, 2013 at 5:30 p.m. The purpose of the meeting is to discuss matters pertaining to the city manager, including but not necessarily limited to 1, the submittal of the FY 2014 budget, 2, discussion of the budget process and scheduling, 3, the vote to timely receipt of the budget for fiscal year 2014, and lastly, the update on progress of our goals and objectives. At this point, I turn it over to the manager for his presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. I have a short presentation tonight before I hand over the budgets to you, basically reflecting the process that we utilize in putting the budget together and the issues that I think are significant for us to consider as we look at the city's finances and the city's budget for fiscal year 2014, which we'll be taking up at a subsequent meeting. The first slide I would show you is, and I've given you a handout that has all of these, but this is a very busy slide, but it gives you some sense of the complexity, if you will, of the various steps that go through the budget process. Obviously, as you can see in the green boxes at the top, you can see the activity that takes place at the state level with the governor's budget, the House budget, the Senate budget, and then ultimately, usually there's some type of conference committee that's put together with members of the House and Senate to come up with some type of compromise budget that, and local aid, of course, is a key part of our financial picture. The red boxes below show the various steps along the way from January to March of the department heads' work that they have in putting together their workload indicators and departmental budgets, their submission to the CFO, the CFO's work then that goes into it, and then it's reviewed with me before it's presented to the City Council for June. I am very pleased that over the nearly 7 years that I've been here, 6 budgets I believe it is, that we've always provided the City Council with a budget by late May, early June, and it's that we're not right up against the clock at the end of June, which has taken place in other communities, and I know that from time to time has occurred here in the city, so we're very pleased with that. And then the white boxes below show the various steps along the way with the key dates. I will add that although this sort of makes it look like the budget is something that's put together from January to June, I think the fact that the forecasts that we update on a regular basis and provide to the provide to the council, the regular monthly and quarterly financial reports that are provided to the council certainly reflect that our financial decision-making, our budgeting process, is a constant and ongoing process here in the city, and not just something we do over those 6 months. In terms of the trends that we're looking at, I think one certainly a key part, a certain discussion point that we have talked about quite a bit over the years is our taxes, our tax policy. And we've given you this chart that shows you the various increases that have taken place in taxes from 1992 to the present. I think this is significant, particularly as we look at it just as a single issue, but will become even more important as we look at the overall trends of the city, not just in taxes, but in terms of reserves and our overall financial condition. But you can see that on the left-hand side of the slide is the period of time in the early 1990s when the city had the oversight board in here, when things were particularly difficult in the city that required the state to actually come in and take control of the city's finances. You can see during that period of time, taxes generally went up about 2.5%. During the late 1990s, when the economy was booming, there was a substantial amount of local aid, a good amount of new growth, all building permit receipts were up, and things were really humming going into the early 2000s. The taxes actually saw reductions during that period of time as they were offset by those additional revenues. Beginning in around 2005, 6, and 7, you could see substantial increases in taxes of over 3%, 6, almost 7%, and 8.3%. For some of the councilors that were here at the time, you remember the difficulty that we faced in fiscal year 2007 as we had to make adjustments mid-year to prevent that 8.3% from actually being somewhere in the vicinity of a 10 or 11% increase because of the financial shortfall that would have occurred otherwise, because the budget that was presented for fiscal year 2007 that was presented in June of 2006 was out of balance by roughly $9 million. So we had to make some substantial changes there, including some cuts that kept that 8.3% from becoming, as I said, probably a 10% increase. We then implemented a tax policy for fiscal year 2008, in which we were going to hold the tax increase to essentially maintaining the levy, the amount that we were below the levy, the excess levy capacity, so that we stayed always at that $5 million below the levy limit or greater. And generally, that kept us at about 2.5% with some rounding. So you can see in 8, 9, 10, and 11, we were about 2.5%, or a little bit above. And then in fiscal year 2012, we were able to knock that down to 1.24%. And in 2013, we actually were a little bit below zero, very little. Then in 2014, you can see that we're actually indicating on this slide that we'll be at 0% increase again for fiscal year 2014. The other indicator that I think is important is the reserves. By reserves on this chart, we mean not only the excess levy capacity that we have, but also, well, not only the stabilization fund that we have or free cash that we have, but the excess levy capacity. That's what the state refers to as financial flexibility. So we've put together a slide here that I think shows an interesting trend line to show what can happen along the way if we aren't vigilant in maintaining our stability and flexibility with our reserves and our excess levy capacity. You can see that back in the early, late 1980s, our flexibility grew and then began a precipitous drop in the early 1990s, leading to the oversight board coming into the city. It then got built back up in the late 1990s during very good financial times and peaked out in about 2004, 2003, 2004. Then it began a precipitous drop down where the DOR actually put us on a watch list. If they had not done that and we not made some changes, it's likely we would have crashed below that zero number. But those changes we put in place with regards to building reserves and having some type of tax policy, albeit the tax policy we implemented was less than the average taxes that had gone up the prior several years. By providing that financial stability, we've been able to build that back up so that today we're at about $24 million in terms of our financial flexibility. That's our stabilization fund and our excess levy capacity. It does not include the $4.2 million that the state required us to put in place in under the oversight board, because that we don't consider to be truly liquid. But if you were to include that, we'd now be looking at about $28 million in financial flexibility, reserves, and excess levy capacity. This gives you a further breakdown. It comes across, I'm sure, better in the slides, the paper slides that you have in front of you. But it gives a breakdown of how much of this financial flexibility is excess levy capacity, how much is stabilization, and how much is free cash. You can see that one change that we have taken over the last several years is when we've put money into the stabilization fund. We haven't just let it sit in free cash. We reserve it. And back during the early 2000s, you can see that any reserves, not excess levy capacity, was just held in free cash. I personally prefer to stick it in stabilization. It's set off to the side, and there's not then the risk that it can be utilized in a way that isn't financially prudent. This is just a further slide showing without the excess levy capacity, and again, it mirrors really what some of these other slides that you've seen with the financial stability and flexibility. Another trend that's very significant for us this year, and is every year, as I indicated, we're very dependent upon state aid, and as we prepared the budget, the state aid was a key element in our budget considerations. We've shown this chart before, and we continue to show it, and it continues to show the same trends. That being that in 1990, net general aid, unrestricted general government local aid exceeded the amount that was put into the education budgets or the education aid that was coming from the state. With the Education Reform Act of 1993, the education aid grew quite rapidly up to the point now that it's about $130+ million. Unrestricted local aid, however, has been essentially flatlined during that period of time, and you can see that in 2014, it continues its dip below $20 million. So the money that the state is giving us for non-education aid continues to stay very low, and is in fact below, in actual dollars, what we received in 1990. Another major issue that the city has looked at, and certainly I think it's imperative that we consider it, it's actually one of our positives too, is the trends in health costs and our OPEB liability. And I know that there's a report that Mr. Moses included within the packet that you have for tonight's meeting in the communications. But you can see that certainly in 2008 through 2011, health costs continued to escalate, the same trend line that we had seen if you'd gone back into the early 2000s and probably back into the late 1990s, that it just continued to grow as health costs rose and as more retirees came into the system. And beginning in 2011, we began to see a flattening out. In 2013, by going into the GIC, we saw a drop in both budget and actual. And in 2014, we're going to see a drop in budget that you'll see in the budget that is handed out to you. And we do think that will be very much equivalent to what the actual number are when we get finished 2014. A good news element two, certainly in the budget or our financial condition, is our OPEB liability, our unfunded liability. This is a number that has reached close to $690 million. Well, we just completed our actuarial study. You recall this was a topic of discussion as to what to do with the health insurance trust fund money that we will be freeing up when we close out that trust fund within the next month or so, or a good portion of it within the next month or so. Just by moving to the GIC, leaving aside the cost savings that we have in the health insurance expenses as shown in the chart above, you can see that the liability has been reduced by some $170 million just by going into the GIC. The report that Mr. Moses passed on to you also shows that if we take $1 of investment of our health insurance trust fund and put that into an OPEB fund, that will knock that liability down by $4. So we think we may have somewhere in the vicinity of $6 to $8 million that we can put into the OPEB fund within the next month or so. That will be able to knock that liability down by another $24 to $32 million and get us underneath that $500 million number. Still a staggering number, particularly as you consider that our unfunded liability for retirements, which has been the big challenge that cities and towns have faced for the last 20 some odd years, that only sits at $179 million at this point in time. This is a far greater liability that we face.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Kennedy.
just one question on the health insurance. It looks like, and these are just glasses, they're not binoculars, but it looks like the purple and the yellow is even for several years.
Right.
And yet there's $7 million in the health fund.
Correct.
So why would those be even? I mean, if the amount that was budgeted and the amount that was spent is the same, where did we get this, how did we get the 7?
Well, the yellow here measures the amount of money going into the trust fund. So they would naturally pretty much be consistent. That we set our rates based upon a certain amount of money going into the trust fund on a regular basis. We knew exactly what to appropriate each year to match that up.
Okay, all right, so all that is the yellow then is just the amount of money going into the trust fund. It's not how much was actually spent on health care.
Except for 2013, correct.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Why is that?
And the reason we still have money in the trust fund is it is necessary to have some money, when you're self-insured, it's crucial that you have money in the trust fund to handle claims in case catastrophic claims come through. Now, we did acquire reinsurance on a regular basis, but likewise, those reinsurance rates can see dramatic changes given any number of other factors, including their investments, worldwide events, that those reinsurance rates can fluctuate greatly. So you want to have enough money in there that you can handle that. We did face a situation back in 2006, 2007, where in fact we were running very low in our insurance trust fund because for fiscal years 5, 6, and 7, we only increased rates because we controlled our rates then. We only increased rates 2% when all trends were showing health costs going up 10%. So instead of having the necessary, I think, 3 months worth of funds on hand, we were down to only a couple of weeks funds on hand.
And if we have the reinsurance, and I realize that we're not self-insured anymore, so maybe this isn't, doesn't matter all that much, but just for my own curiosity. If we paid for reinsurance, then why would we need so much money in the trust fund for catastrophic? I mean, that's kind of what the reinsurance is for, right? It's for...
Well, the reinsurance is set for catastrophic claims over a certain amount, not necessarily for an aggregate. So it might hit if you have, claims, it'll hit for claims over $250,000, but you're still out that first $250,000. So you'd want, and if you had a number of those catastrophic claims come through, then they would make a serious dent in your health insurance trust fund.
Okay. I think that when you bought the reinsurance, you could buy it two ways. You could either have a total amount, and then once you went over that total amount, or you could buy it on a per, you know, on a retail basis, I guess, is one way to put it. So we did it the last way. We didn't buy it on a total amount?
That's correct.
Okay. And my last question on this is, of the money that we have left over, does a certain percentage of that money belong to the employees?
25%.
And that'll have to be returned at some point, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And when would we be doing that?
Again, hopefully we'll be able to close all of this out with Blue Cross. And some of the money that's in the trust fund too, or some of the money in our calculations is money that's actually in Blue Cross's hands. It isn't just money that's sitting in our trust fund. It's money that we had on, they required us to have a certain amount on deposit with them as well.
Okay.
But as soon as that's cleared out, then we'll know what we have, and we'll give 25% to the employees, and the remaining 75% we will, in fact, the budget actually, it's not in front of me, the budget actually anticipates utilizing some of those funds when we do the closeout into this year's budget to handle the mitigation costs that we agreed to set up when we went to the GIC.
Okay. Is the 7 million, is that 75%, or is that the?
I believe that's, I think I said 6 to 8 million. That would be the 75%.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Mr. Manager?
Another pressure that we encountered, or have been encountering, and particularly this year, is the charter schools. And there's three things going on here with this, this chart. The first, the red bar graph, is the net charter school cost. And you can see in 2004 it was roughly $5 million, and in 2014 it's shown as actually these must be the blue lines here. Tom, is that nope? That's the red.
Blue line is the total cost.
The total cost. Excuse me. The net charter cost is the net. So that's about $11.5 million. The blue line indicates the actual charter expense that we're assessed by the state, and on the cherry sheet. And the black line, the lower line, is how much the state reimburses us. And you can see that it followed pretty much evenly from 2004 to 2007. Then the charter expense stayed pretty flat, dropping off a little bit in 2010, while the charter revenue dropped off dramatically from 2007 to 2013. Probably similar amounts, though, of how much it's going up and how much it's going down, because it's designed to actually disappear at some point in time. The problem is that over the last couple of years, the state has not fully funded the charter school reimbursement program, in which there is a certain amount that's provided to the cities and towns when additional charter schools come on, or when additional charter students go in, and as charter schools grow. And so that underfunding has affected us. In fiscal year 2014, this becomes even more dramatic. You can see the blue line rises sharply from 2013 to 2014, and the black line rises much less so. That has caused us to have, what's the actual number that is the gap there? The $2.8 million difference that we have to face in this year's budget. So that's been an issue that we've had to deal with as we put together this budget. The governor's budget did not fully fund it. The House was less, and the Senate made a small increase, but still not nearly enough for us.
Council Lori?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. While we're on the subjects of schools, and not specifically the charter school, I've read recently the Lowell school system has, I guess, a shortfall in a few areas. Are they going to be looking for more money from us during the next budget year, or? Or how are we going to address that?
It's hard to say right now, and I think that's going to be a topic of discussion at our budget hearing that we have. We have included $1 million more for the schools this year than last year of local contribution, and they did pick up about $3.8 million, I believe it was, in additional Chapter 70 money. They're still showing a shortfall, and I think I anticipate that Mr. Moses and I will be meeting with them in the next couple of days. We've already met with them on several occasions, and we'll be meeting with them again to go over some of their numbers.
Because I noticed the budget for next year sitting over there, and this has come on a little bit later than that, so
Right.
I didn't know how we would be addressing that.
Yeah, the budget that we have that's in the budget book that's there shows that extra $1 million, and it includes the $3.7 million that's in the state aid. But they're still indicating a shortfall beyond that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. The other point I'd make on the charter schools that I think is sort of evidence of the issue that we're facing is the total charter school deficiency in terms of the, from working off the House budget is about $30 million statewide. The city of Lowell represents that $2.8 million, so nearly 10% of it. The city of Boston is $10 million. So combined, just the city of Boston and the city of Lowell is nearly half of the unfunded issue over here with the charter schools.
Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think a couple of weeks ago, we touched on this subject with the charter schools, and one of the issues that came up during that, at that time, was that maybe the charter school won't be finished in time. And so some thought was given to maybe our responsibility could be suspended or held in abeyance until the charter school was ready. Have we done anything, have we attempted to address that, or where are we going as far as that goes?
We don't have a final answer on that, but we are researching that right now as to what impact that will have. We'd like to see, before we get too far into that, though, we'd like to see where the charter school is with their construction. Hopefully, we'll have more information on that within the next couple of weeks.
And is that something you'd negotiate with A&F?
It would probably be with combination of A&F and DESE, Department of Education. Right.
Okay. All right, so you'll keep us...
Absolutely.
Yep, thanks.
And mostly what we're interested there is, if it does happen, how does it play out for us? Is it because we need the financial flexibility to deal with those costs if it doesn't happen?
Any further discussion? Mr. Manager?
The next is and it continues on with the issue of the state budgets. It provides you with what we ended up using as our assumptions. In Chapter 70, we utilized the Senate budget number, the $129,901,000. That's just a little bit higher than the House. The governor's number is higher. That's unlikely to be going anywhere. The governor's budget was dependent upon certain new revenues coming in, and that clearly is not going to happen. The unrestricted governmental local aid is, we ended up with our assumption being $21,304,000. Excuse me, that should be $21,808,000 that we ended up using. The Senate passed $21,304,000, but Senator Donahue filed an amendment that will add in another $500,000 for the city, and that actually is the number that we utilized. The Senate took that up and approved it, but based upon the final determination of that number taking place in the fall, when the early fall after the fiscal year 13 state budget is completed. So the number that we're actually utilizing there is that $21,808. Then the governor had another amount here for an annual formula aid. That would be something new this year. Again, it was contingent upon additional revenues that were not approved by the House or the Senate, and that was for $824,000. So there was a drop-off from what we first saw under House 1 with the governor till our final assumption that you see below you there. In terms of the Local projections, two key parts that I want to look at that I think are significant as we went through the budget. The first is our GIC and health insurance. You could see that, we've already touched upon this, that it's an 8.1% decrease from fiscal year 2013, and it's a 16% decrease from 2012. As people are making their choices with which GIC plan to get into. They are in fact choosing the more affordable plans. Still significantly, even with the higher plans, they're saving from the old Blue Cross plans that they were on. But they're choosing, in fact, some of the more managed care projects. So that's seeing that decrease. The other area that we're seeing some important decreases that provide us with additional annual financial flexibility is in our energy costs. And you can see that over the course of the last 7 or so years, our electricity costs, our budgets have risen, the first part of those, but we started to see the effect of the a negotiation of electric rates, and then more significantly, the impact of the Amoresco project. And the same goes for the heating costs. So that you can see that in terms of our budget, we continue to reduce our budget for electricity costs and for heating costs. Later tonight, the council will be voting to approve the loan order that was approved, that was based upon the capital budget that was approved by the council a couple of weeks ago. And that, of course, has an impact on debt. And you can see that our debt picture has improved dramatically since 2008 in terms of its cost. The biggest drop-off there has been in the area of school building assistance, as our school projects that have taken place over the last 25 years are being paid off. Our own local share of debt is continuing to rise some, is beginning to rise some as we take on more capital projects. But as our forecasts show, these can be accommodated within the revenue picture that we have presented, and prove to be important investments in our school buildings and our infrastructure.
Mr. Mayor, if I could.
Councilor Martin?
Mr. Manager, this doesn't include the enterprise fund debt, though, does it?
No, it does not.
Okay. Do we have any idea what that aggregate number is?
Off the top of my head, I don't, but the current outstanding debt is in the debt schedule of the budget, so the actual dollars are there.
Okay.
Which leads me to my final slide in terms of our 2014 highlights. The budget that you will be receiving, and Henry will now pass them out, provides for no tax increase for fiscal year 2014, once again. It does have the issue that Councilor Laurie brought up regarding the school budget that we'll have to consider. But it does have no tax increase. It does have an expanded recreation program, which will have more summer jobs, more recreation opportunities for local youth, all at no cost to families here in Lowell. It continues the increase of services to Lowellians in terms of our police and fire, our public works, our maintenance efforts on our facilities. Once again, it's done in a way that's, we believe, financially responsible, that will strengthen our financial stability. We actually have a conference call with Moody's later this week for some short-term borrowing we'll be doing, and we'll be very pleased to tell them the story of our city's finances. And this budget, though, continues that financial stability that we have been putting in place over the last several years during some very difficult times. So it's I'll have a more detailed presentation of the budget itself and what's included in it at the budget hearing that we propose take place on the 11th of June. But that gives you some sense of the financial picture that we looked at as we prepared the budget this year.
Councilor Mercier?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you to the Mr. Manager. Did you How did you prepare this with your departments? Did you ask each department head to come in with less of a proposed department budget, or how did you?
Do you want to take that one, Tom?
Sure. There were actually two pieces to this. The first is all the salaries and wages. And we asked the departments to come in with a budget that reflected any current collective bargaining agreements that were in place. If they were not in place, we asked them to assume a small percentage increase, similar to what other contracts that had been approved had passed, and then to fully fund the ordinance, which meant a COLA that ironically, or not ironically, is equivalent to all the union contracts, and any steps if they were eligible. On the other side, we asked them generally to not increase expenses. However, that we would consider specific requests over and above that if they could document the need. And we also asked them for ideas on ways to save money as well.
Yes, okay, thank you.
If I may, the other addition to that is, in some cases, they also, as much as they were able to come in with extenuating circumstances on their expenses, and make the case for why they should go up or not, and why going up may actually save us money, which is sometimes the case if equipment's bought, that frees up staff time. The other issue that we considered is we allowed them to come forward with ideas for additional staff that would actually allow us to do increase our workload around the city.
Thank you.
Councilor Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could just follow up on just the point I raised about the enterprise fund debts. So if you look, just indulge me for a minute on page...
This is why we didn't give you the budget documents ahead of time.
So on page 240, for example, is roughly, as I read this at the bottom of the page, about $96 million of sewer debt. And the annual payments are the three amounts, right, to the left of that?
That's correct.
Right, so if you flip back a page, in the general fund debt, about halfway down on 239, it's less principal, right?
That's true.
89, and yet the payments are significantly more. So are we at better interest rates in the sewers? That I know there's some.
No, that generally has to do with the amortization. Sewer debt is almost always 20 years, often 30 years amortization. When we're borrowing for equipment, it may be 5 to 15 years. Some debt is 20 years, but none in the general fund is 30 years. So it has to do with the amortization.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Any further discussion? Mr. Manager?
The other item that was placed on the agenda that was requested that I do, and I know you all love my PowerPoint presentations, but let me quickly go through the goals and objectives.
Okay, well, before we do that, why don't we...
oh, I'm sorry.
Why don't we have a vote on the timely receipt of the budget? Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Mendoza, seconded by Councilor Martin. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. In City Council vote pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 32. The City of Lowell acknowledges timely receipt from the City Manager on May 28th, 2013, with recommended budget for the City of Lowell for fiscal year 2014, with the understanding that any recommended revisions thereto, as may be submitted by the City Manager at a later date and prior to the date of final approval of said budget by the City Council, shall collectively be considered the proposed budget for fiscal year 2014 for the City of Lowell. Public hearing on the budget is advertised in the Sun on May 31st, 2013, to be held on Tuesday, June 11th, 2013, at 7 p.m. in the City Council chambers, and on such other dates and times, if necessary, and may be publicly announced by the City Council. What's the wish of the council? Councilman Danza.
Move to accept the vote.
Move to approve. So moved by Councilman Danza, second by Council Mercia. Council Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In preparation for June 13th, if we could, and through you to the city auditor, last year during the budget deliberations, you were able to provide us with a report on what would have been spent year to date. Would you be able to do that for the 11th and have a report that reflects 11 months of spending, so up till May 31st? Okay.
Thank you.
What's the date? I thought you said June 11th.
June 11th. That's right.
11th, I thought you said the 13th.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Nguyen.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Laurie.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Mendonça.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Thank you. Next, we have the progress and the goals and objectives. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And again, I'll try to go through this somewhat quickly, but obviously want to cover where we are with our goals and objectives with regards to fiscal year 2013. One of the issues that we had was the new website. That website was scheduled to go out to an RFP. The old golden objective that we had there was going to go out to an RFP, I believe, in September of 2012. We made the decision to bring it in-house and just do some portions of it with contractors, thereby saving us a considerable sum of money. The new city website will go live on July 1st, 2013. So not only do we use existing staff to do this, but we will be coming online quicker than what we think would have been the case had we gone outside. The website will have a number of new features, and we'll be making a presentation to the council at either the last meeting in June or the first meeting in July to show the new website. One of our goals or objectives was to enhance performance management capabilities. We've expanded our scope of Lowell stat. It now has 9 departments. Parks is shown there twice, but it's actually, parking is shown there twice, but actually it doesn't include recreation, which has been included as well. So we do have 8. We had assumed that we'd have 7. We've grown that to 8. We've also begun implementing the ResiStat program, working with the neighborhood organizations towards a stat program that's more specific on a neighborhood-by-neighborhood basis. And we're working, the STAP program is working towards a comprehensive energy analysis as part of its regular operations in fiscal year 14 to ensure that we maximize all of our energy savings as we move forward. During the year, the city also received statewide recognition as a leader in the field of performance management with the grant program that the state funded, but also their recognition in assessing the STAP programs across the state, and noting Lowell as being as one of the leaders in that. In our finances, we continue to improve our financial stability. This, of course, was discussed at the prior topic of the budget process, but you can see that we continue to move upwards. And the point I didn't make, and I guess I'll try to make it now, with regards to the budget is you look back at those, and I'll show those charts again probably when we go through the budget, and I'll have them available for you, but as you look at the trends that happened as the city went from the fairly good position it was in the late 1980s, and then began its downward slide with practices that really weren't were somewhat ill-advised, and then began to climb back out and restored its financial stability, and then again started drawing upon reserves, started making budget choices that weren't sustainable. You saw that drop off again, leading to the Department of Revenue stepping in and putting us on a watch list, similar, if you will, to but not quite as dramatic as it had in the early 1990s with the Oversight Board. We've turned that corner and started back up, clearly by evidence of our financial reserves and our financial our flexibility with our excess levy capacity. The challenge, I think, for the administration and for the City Council is, as we go forward into fiscal year 14, 15, 16, and beyond, is that we want to make sure that those same principles are adhered to so that financial stability stays in place, and that we don't make the mistakes that were made in the early 1990s, in the mid-2000s, with regards to utilizing one-time revenues and to excess or relying too heavily on increased taxes and the like. So this certainly shows that our reserves are healthy, and we'd like to get them a little bit healthier. We do think that is evidence of our strength. Likewise, our stabilization fund, very similar. We anticipate that our stabilization fund, right now it's at about $11 million. We'd like to get that up a little bit higher, but it shows the growth that's taken place over the course of the last several years. We continue to hold the line on taxes. This gives you the changes in cash reserves and excess levy capacity. As you can see, our cash reserves dropped down in 4, 5, 6, and 7 for those fiscal years, as did our change in excess levy capacity. That we actually started dipping into that excess levy capacity, knocking it down substantially. Since that time, since 2008, during I will say, a very difficult financial time, we have grown our cash reserves to a good, healthy number, and we've increased the excess levy capacity. So we have been doing our job in terms of holding the line on taxes since 2008. In terms of public safety, one of the objectives we had was proactive public safety programs and community outreach. When we speak of public safety, obviously we're talking about the police and fire, but we're also talking about our inspectional services staff. We've done a number of things along these lines. The training of sanitary code inspectors to use Munis has facilitated coordination between the building and sanitary code inspections. This is certainly one of the goals of our reorganization of inspectional services and putting it into planning and development, is that the building and the sanitary code people should be working hand in hand and together. Utilizing the same central database allows us to do that much more effectively than ever has been the case. We continue efforts to catch violations before they become citizen complaints. We did establish a problem properties task force to collaborate across city departments. We now have a list of 40 properties, and we're selecting the top 10. We are working, as you'll see later in the agenda tonight of the regular meeting, using a grant from the Attorney General to further assist us in the management of vacant properties, and that's all part of the Problem Properties Task Force. And in that task force, we have representatives of police, fire, development services, neighborhood services, MIS, Lowell Stat, and the law department.
Council Laurie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That problem property task force was a motion I had put in, I had pushed for that. And the question I have is the top 10 properties, what are we going to do with them?
That's the strategy. They're working on developing what those properties are, and then each one will have its own unique strategy that's put together with that, and we'll be coming back to the council with a report on that.
Whether it's cold or vacant.
Correct.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Mr. Manager?
In terms of social development, that was included as one of our goals. We completed the master plan in the March of 2013. This was estimated to be the actual plan approved for City Council. It was completed on March 13th. For 2014, our goal is to complete all of the regulatory changes and implement the comprehensive master plan by June of 2014. So over the course of the next year, planning and development will be taking the approved document and starting to rework that into actual actions for implementation. Enhancement of recreation amenities and programs. This has been something that has been a work in progress over the last several years, but really stepped up last year with enhancing those programs. We've increased the staff for 2,285 hours of new recreation opportunities. That was over the summer of 12, over the summer of 11. We have approximately 1,100 more participants in programs this fiscal year to date. And so you can see his spending that has taken place in fiscal year. You can see the start to the increase back in fiscal year 11, and then increased dramatically in fiscal year 13. In fiscal year 14, we will expect to see similar trends. We also, in terms of social development, new community gardening initiative. Community gardens are cultivated and maintained spaces where volunteers work collectively to achieve a common goal of growing fresh, healthy produce in our city. This has been something the council has talked about regularly, and certainly been something that the planning and development has been working with a number of organizations, and has proven to be a great neighborhood revitalization tool and community building tool. In 2009, you can see that the square feet that we had was about 6,000. We're now up to 25,000, and that will be our estimate for what we're able to achieve in 2014 as well. And we'd like to see if we can grow it beyond that. Economic development. Another goal area for us, and one of our objectives was to improve neighborhood business districts and promote local entrepreneurship. You can see that we have increased over time our businesses assisted by our Economic Development Office. In 2009, we did 64. We've grown that each year. In 2013 to date, we have 70, but our goal next year is for 120. Further along in economic development, the health center is open. We've worked closely with the health center in their financing and their permitting and getting them up and running. And that has been an important contributor to the JAM area. And then just wanted to note that in the past year, our Economic Development Office has successfully attracted, retained, and supported the expansion of several important businesses, including Plum Choice, which moved to Lowell from Billerica, and did involve quite a bit of work on the part of our economic development team. Lowell Sewing, Cortron, Lowell Bank. It's continuing to grow. We have a new pizza establishment in downtown at the old Fortunato's, Tremonte's. Small businesses, Sweet Lydia's. We have Stella Web Design, R&D Torpy, and Black Koi Restaurant, just to name a few. But they range from very large businesses to very small businesses. We do expect we do know of a major announcement that will be taking place in the next few weeks of another several hundred jobs that will be coming to the city at the Cross Point facility. And again, and we expect that business will actually grow beyond that. And it is positive news for the city. In terms of our education, and this goes to the issue that Councilor Laurie also brought up during the budget process discussion we had earlier. Our compliance with minimum net school spending. In 2008, we were below minimum net school spending, and then we began, and then in 2009, for the first time since 96, Lowell met the net school spending requirement, actually exceeding it by $4 million. We were $2 million above in 2010, 1.4 in 2011. In 2012, we were pretty even with it. Actually fell about $68,000 short, and as I was describing to one of the councilors earlier, if the one snowstorm would have allowed us to actually hit that net school spending requirement. In fiscal year 2013, we won't actually know the results until next February or March. We're anticipating right now we'll be about even with it. We may fall somewhat short given the uncertainty or the impact on the GIC and retiree health insurance, which does play a role here in our net school spending calculations. But our goal in 2014 is to also be at zero. That, of course, I think is a positive that we were able to do it for the first time in the last 12 or 13 years, but it's going to be a constant effort to try to maintain that. In terms of sustainability, our recycling rate, and I know this is also a topic that will be a discussion on later tonight, our recycling rate has continued to grow. We began 2009 at just about 7%. We've grown it to 13.5%. Year to date, our goal next year is 17%. And as you know, our goal by the end of the next contract, by 2018, will be 35%. And we think we can achieve that through educational efforts and reforms to our recycling program. So that continues to grow. In terms of solid waste violation resolutions, this is a new goal this year, so we don't have any comparable to look back at, but the percentage of solid waste and minimum maintenance violations resolved within 1 week stands at 75%, and our goal is to get that to 85% next week. No, excuse me, next year, next week. Also in sustainability, our Brownsfields program, the number of sites addressed through assessment and remediation efforts. In 2009, we stood at 6, dropped to 5, stayed pretty much at 5 and 6 those 3 years, and in 2012 went up to 8. Year to date, we've only got 6, but it is our goal that we've set to get that up to 11 in fiscal year 2014, working closely with the state and federal agencies. In terms of infrastructure, and again, I'm just picking a number of different areas of our objectives to focus on, but we can point to any number of other measures of our success and meeting our goals and objectives. But certainly one of our priorities has been the downtown traffic relocation. We do have the NIMCOG 2012 Regional Transportation Plan recommendations that are being implemented. We also have the funds allocated in the 2014 capital plan that was approved by the council and that will be voted upon. The loan order will be voted on later tonight for signalization, striping, and engineering for the downtown traffic program. And then in the Rourke Bridge replacement, the alignments have been identified. They range in costs from $54 million to $82 million, and the council is certainly well aware of what is taking place with the Rourke Bridge and our efforts to see that project move forward. And then lastly, just a flow chart that I think it's worthy to look back and look at and say, well, how do we actually go through the evolution of goals? And clearly it takes a number of steps of planning, monitoring, developing, rating, and rewarding. And that is what we try to do as we go through our process within the administration. And I think the success is shown by the goals and objectives and what we've been able to achieve and the progress that we continue to make.
I'll move to accept the manager's update on progress on goals and objectives.
Motion by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Councilor Martin to accept and place on file as a report of progress. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Being after 6:30, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Councilor Laurie. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. We'll return after a brief recess.